We've got flowers and mantras and a god for a while. There's a man from the mountains with a robe made of gold, teaching all of the movie stars everything old. And the money came in from a faraway sun, and the papers were sealed before anyone won. Oh, Canyon of the Smiling God. Oh, everybody nod. The light is so pretty. The light is so long. The light is so pretty. What could ever go wrong in the canyon of the Smiling God? There's a pipeline from the agency to the temple in town, and the hippies don't know it, but the records are found. There were daughters they counted by the candlelight's glow, and the smile on the poster was a thing you don't know. Oh, Canyon of the Smiling God. Oh, everybody nod. The light is so pretty. The light is so long. The light is so pretty. What could ever go wrong in the canyon of the Smiling God? Friday night, the canyon opens. Come and see who built the road.
Hello, and welcome to the Courtney Turner podcast. We are live, and it's been a while, so I encourage everybody to like this, share this. It's going to be an incredible episode. I have found this book a few years ago, and I've been wanting to do a show on it, but it is super, super dark, and I really didn't want to do this alone. And then I realized that my beautiful, brilliant friend, Jamie Hanshaw, would be the perfect person to do this episode with. So I am super excited about it, and I couldn't think of a more perfect person to join me in discussing the horrors of this book. That being said, please like, share, and if you can support, really appreciate it. We're trying to figure out how to keep going here. So if you like the work that we're doing and you want to see it continue, then please consider supporting in any way that you possibly can. We have been putting stuff up on Substack, and that is a place where I usually put everything out early access for my paid subscribers. I have a very big article I'm working on, so you'll get all of that as well. And we have a placeholder. It is not quite ready yet, but glowwithtallow.com is coming very, very soon. You can go check out the website. There is a placeholder there now. And this is our tallow skincare product. You can see, I don't know if you can see it through the screen. We have little black flecks in it. Those are real grade A Madagascar vanilla beans. We scraped out the caviar. It's got medicinal grade Manuka honey. This is like what they use for wound healing in the hospital. It's 100% grass-fed, grass-finished tallow in jojoba or organic jojoba oil. So super excited about that. We've been working on it and formulating the formula for this, and also working on this logo, which I think is pretty cool, right? So All right. Well, without further ado, I think if we have time, we might take questions at the end. So if you have a question, put :Q, so it'll be easier for us to see it in the chat. And I'll be watching the two chats that we have going. So, all right, let's bring on Jamie. Jamie, how are you doing today?
Really well, thank you. And
Oh,
I'm just gonna brag on your towel for a minute. Everybody needs that product. It smells amazing. It works so good. People that I give it to fight over it. So everyone grab yours before they're sold out.
yay! Thank you. Oh, that's so great to hear. Yeah, we've gotten really good feedback from the beta testers, so I'm excited to finally launch it. So, yeah, so this book was
Oh
I
man.
I'm like, I don't know where to begin. It was so dark. Yeah.
Much. And I think you did pick the perfect person because this is definitely defense against the dark arts that I didn't even know how bad it was. And it just so happened to parallel with a bunch of studies that I had been doing recently. Um, and one of them was from this book called Cults of the Shadow by Kenneth Grant.
Okay.
And so this is probably one of the most evil books that I own. I can only read one of these maybe like every 10 years or so. You know, we've done Aleister Crowley and the Hidden God by this guy and Cults of the Shadow. But basically, he is talking about Tantra and black
Okay.
magic and how it is very essential. And I don't want to get too gross. You can go into my member section and see the whole breakdown of this. But basically, it's about using women and their bodily fluids for black magic. And this is obviously related to Aleister Crowley, who we talk so much about, who has influenced the entire 20th century with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? So, what happened to the boomers was this stuff, okay? And this stuff settling in Los Angeles and becoming super popular in Hollywood. And I also have this 8 lectures on yoga by Aleister Crowley. Now, I know a lot of
Mm.
you guys don't realize he was a master Freemason and also a master yogi. So
Wow.
he was trying to incorporate all of this Eastern mysticism into the West and make it palatable for, white culture and Western people in England and America and Europe, right? So he is adding Kabbalah together, Tantra, uh, hmm, what's it called? Alchemy, Golden Dawn, all of these Western magical orders, and trying to mix them up and create his own cult. And the Tantra is a big part of this. And so when you sent me the
Dark shadow.
breakdown of this book, The Shadow of the Dalai Lama, right?
Mhm.
Now, a lot of people think that the Dalai Lama is just this nice guy who hangs out with his sunglasses and his saffron robes and he's all peaceful. Because when you think of Buddhism, you think of, non-aggression, you think of like just kind of sitting and being enlightened, being very passive, as a sort of contrast to the Western like capitalism, go, go, go. And people think that they're going to like relax and find some kind of inner peace with Buddhism and Tantra, but we're going to show you that that is not going to be the case.
Yeah, not so much. And so I will caveat this. One of the reasons it took me so long to even look at this is so many people told me, "Oh, you can't trust this. It's written by this German couple who are like commies." And but it turns out that when you read it, I mean, it's pretty hard to refute the claims that they make. And it turns out they were actually like devout yogis and devout like they were friends with the Dalai Lama. You know,
Hmm.
they held like salons for him. So these are not they're not just academic researchers from the outside. These are people who were inside it and then were horrified by what they actually saw. And then on top of it went and did further, academic research to figure out what was going on. So and when you get into some of the obviously the Hollywood stuff is pretty hard to refute. I mean, we've all pretty much seen it and witnessed that. I know I have with my own eyes. And I was in, I mean, I lived out in Santa Monica. I lived in Hollywood, and I was in the industry, and I was also a partner acrobatics teacher. So like I was I was in the whole circus community, and they were very involved in this stuff. I mean, I had no idea it went this deep. I wasn't, privy to any of that. But it's so pervasive in the whole culture. And then when they go into the, political relationships, you those are uncontrovertible. I mean, those are all verifiable. So, but I just want to caveat that, because I know that's people do contest it and say this is just their interpretation. They're reading it literally, and this is supposed to be figurative. Although I would say even if it was just figurative, it's pretty disgusting, even if you
Mhm,
take it just
mhm.
at that level. So, what are your thoughts on any of that?
Well, I was just gonna say, when you say the word tantra, for most people, the first thing that's gonna pop into your head is Sting, right? From the
Mhm.
Police, because he kind of made that idea famous. And so people are like, oh, what is Tantra? And you just think of it as like some kind of sexual practice where you go slow and you're very intentional in the breathing and looking each other in the eye. And it sounds very like sexy and romantic,
Mm.
especially coming from A-list musicians and actors and even politicians. But when you look at the theology and the religion and the practices, it is the epitome of black magic. It is focused on stealing energies from girls, really,
Yeah.
not women, but girls, which they call the gynergy, right? Or the, is that how you say it? Like,
I didn't know if it's Ginergy or Gynergy, but yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Ginergy.
yeah, gynergy, gynergy. Basically, it all boils down to the sacrifice of the feminine principle.
Yeah.
And in this book, they argue that that is not a symbolic sacrifice at all.
Yeah, and they have like 6 stages where they go through. So they ultimately gets to essentially like where the woman is completely, basically just reincarnates into becoming this androgynous kind of figure. Maybe
Right.
we should go through the 6 phases.
Well, let's talk about Buddha real quick because
Okay.
they don't, this is a very specific practice in Buddhism. I know there's like several branches. So I'm not saying every Buddhist is
Yeah.
doing this stuff. This is very specific
I hope not.
Tantra from Tibet that focuses on the Dalai Lama, that draws from Indian practices that were older than Buddha. But Buddha himself is like a terrible role model. He was a turbo misogynist. The entire story of his enlightenment centers around the death of his mother, who they call Maya, because every woman is the gate to life. So they view all life as suffering and something that has to be, and it's actually going against, like the creation story or what we would have as our uh, teleology. They are trying to not exist.
Right.
That
Yeah.
is the goal.
Yeah.
Nirvana is basically obliteration of your entire personality, ego, spirit, everything. Um,
And the physical.
right. The
Everything.
physical world is
Yeah.
evil.
Yes.
And so this gets into Gnosticism. This is very contrasted against Christianity, where all creation is good and evil is not actually a created thing. That's very deep stuff to talk about. But all that to say is Buddha wanted to be free of women. So he would encourage his initiates to meditate on like
Oh,
women
this grossed me out so much. Yeah, go on.
as corpses, as think about them rotting, because he wanted to turn off all of those natural sensations or affections that you would have towards women, beginning with your mother. And I thought this was really interesting. You talk about escaping the matrix a lot,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Central to Buddhism, because matrix means mother, And it is actually like the womb where you are gestated and come out of. So when you say you're escaping the matrix, you are escaping everything that's feminine, including your own mother.
Yeah, and so that was also really interesting, the creation story, because they have it's similar to, I mean, not similar, but like it's also a non procreative kind of a creation. And yeah, it was Maya is his mother, and Maya of course means illusion, right? So the entire physical domain is illusory. And then she births him out of her hip, but there's no pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have these big fish tales on top of what actually happened. She did die very soon after giving birth to him. But nobody is birthed out of a hip. That's kind of ridiculous. And he actually did abandon his own wife and child in order to follow his own path of enlightenment. And they had I think, a very bad ending too. So the story, one of the stories of Buddha is that he was a prince, right? He was raised in some kind of closed environment where he did not have a lot of contact with the outside world. And one day after a big party and orgy, he woke up and he saw all the women laying around him and he was very disgusted with them. And he thought this is all bunkus and I'm gonna go and try and find, the true path and what is right towards enlightenment. And it is basically eschewing all of these like hoes and being celibate, right?
Right. Yeah. And then but he comes up with the middle way, because he found that the women actually were the ones that saved him.
Mhm.
Right? Like he's he was starving himself, and the woman gives him the bowl of rice, and then it was all the women who supported him financially too. So
Mhm. And so he figured out, oh, women are useful.
right.
Not that they're any closer to enlightenment. And actually, that's the teaching is that you have to be reincarnated as a man first before you can be on your way. So even women are in this lower category on Earth, right? But you can still use them for your own powers and to become some sort of androgynous sorcerer, which we will get into the nitty-gritty of that. But I did want to watch these two movies, but I didn't have time. But there is a movie called Kundun by Martin
Okay.
Scorsese
Right,
about
right. Yeah. The movie.
Tibet and Dalai Lama.
The
That came out
Brad
in
Pitt.
19... Yeah. Well, Brad Pitt was 7 years in Tibet.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another movie called Kundun with produced by Martin Scorsese. And so what we're seeing is that the Dalai Lama has tried to use Hollywood as its ambassador group because they
Yeah.
don't have like lots of diplomats and their own ambassadors. So he thought that Hollywood was the perfect way to
They called it like the Hollywood Embassy or something, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got Richard Gere, Sharon Stone, Jimmy Carter was interested in this stuff. Uh, Uma Thurman's dad, I think, was
Yep.
another one.
Yeah. He was huge. He was like a scholar of Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah, Steven
Yeah.
Seagal. So A-list people are bringing Buddhism and specifically Tantra to the West.
I just remember back in the 90s, like in Richard Gere's heyday, he got famous for like notoriously shoving gerbils up his butt.
Yeah,
But now that I'm reading this, I'm like, maybe there was something to that. I don't know.
I don't know how that would work unless it was like frozen or something, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
that could get a little sticky. Yeah, I always wondered about that. I was like, I don't really want to know, but it was very like a very popular narrative,
yeah.
and he never denied it, as far as I know.
Well,
So,
there's no such thing as bad attention, right?
right, I guess
In
so. No
Hollywood.
publicity is bad publicity. So,
But yeah, so the Dalai Lama is cast as this some kind of like virtuous, peace-loving, tranquil, um, dude. in contrast to like corrupt politicians and church leaders. So everyone sort of just trusts this person without even knowing anything about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was supposed to be the emblem of peace.
Hmm. And free
So,
Tibet.
yeah. Yeah.
Free them from this crap, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hollywood was they were, yeah, they were like the ambassadors for him. What do you think they have any idea, or do you like the way they painted it was like some of them actually knew that they were witting essentially operatives to spread this, and then others I think probably just thought it was like a kind of like Theosophy, a love and light kind of a what do you
Um,
think?
well, I think they think they're doing a good thing.
Hmm.
Of all of the things that we have just listed, people have no idea what these Kalachakra rituals entail, which we're gonna reveal, here and tomorrow. It's very diabolical, actually. It's evil and it's gross, and it's something we all need to, try to purge from the West, in my opinion.
I think so too.
Because the Dalai Lama, he's not just the religious leader, he's also the political leader of Tibet. He is some sort of, God king. But in this book is talking about a lot of people, Tibetans who are in exile, who actually see him as a sort of despot and religious tyrant. And I know you have your resources about how this all went back to Hitler also.
Yes. Well, Henner, I don't know how you say these German names, but was his teacher,
Hmm.
and he was like worked with the SS. So
Hmm.
he was there were but there were several figures who he was very closely associated with who were Nazi figures.
Hmm.
It's a very
Well,
important.
Hitler
Mhm.
even had a secret army that was full of Tibetan monks. I didn't, that is what something we covered in a show, I think it's called Hitler the Black Magician. So also what me and Courtney talk a lot about is the UN and the hidden masters and the secret chiefs, which would be these demons or these powers or spirits that live in the Himalayas that everyone was searching for.
Shambhala.
Shambhala. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And then that got popularized through Blavatsky and through the UN.
Hmm.
But that was I didn't realize that that had such strong like literal reference in Buddhism,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
being appropriated in Theosophy.
So every Tibetan temple has its outer court and its inner court, just like you would see in most secret societies. Freemasons, the outer court thinks they're doing good, they're extolling virtues, they're trying to get along, they're trying to unite people under commonalities. But then you go deeper and deeper, and it just gets more and more into ritual and sex stuff, really. So that's what it all boils down. And that's what Crowley did was he cut through all the bullshit and he was like, most of all of this esoterica is just about sex magic, right? And the power that you can uh, suck out of other people and use it to gain for yourself.
Terrible. So was Crowley like a disciple of Tantra? Is
He was
that
um he was a master yogi, so yeah, he did have
yeah?
those Eastern teachers, and then they started what was called the OTO, or the Order
Hmm.
of the Eastern Templars. So that's when we're starting to see the mysticism of the West and the East combined under Crowley
Right,
with the OTO. And
right.
what their big idea was to channel entities from outer space through yoga and ritual magic, specifically from Sirius. And if you know anything about esoterica, like everybody from the antiquity worshipped Sirius. But then you have the Typhonian OTO that branched off, and these are the books that we cover, uh, specifically talking about Tantra and Kali and the kalas, which are basically bodily fluids that women emanate, and there are, categories of them. There are up to 16, depending on when you are in your cycle, that these yogis, these gurus, these ritual magicians can use for different purposes. And in the OTO, they would take your bodily fluids and mix them together with, flour, whatever, and make some kind of unholy Eucharist with menstrual blood and semen. And this is straight from Tantra. So when I'm reading this book and we get deeper and deeper, and as these rituals unfold of the initiation of the Kalachakra, it is you are ingesting all sorts of gross bodily fluids, excrement, earwax, dandruff, anything, because they say all of these party, all of these are sacred from the goddess, and that you can use them for your androgynous pursuits. And I think that's one huge thing that a lot of people don't even know about, is the goal of the yogi sorcerer is to become an androgynous
Androgynous.
master of the universe, like Doctor Strange or something like that.
Yeah. Well, what I find so like I don't know, like how do they reconcile this? I guess because they just really don't know. They're only looking at the surface of it. But you think about Hollywood, it's mostly these like pro-feminist type, right? And like female power. Like nothing screams female power like feminine principle being sacrificed.
Oh yeah. And so if you watch things like Wild Country about Osho and all of these cults,
Yeah.
they are totally abusive towards women. It's all about sharing your body. It's about, so they literally say that a woman is full of this gynergy, this female energy that you must suck out
Yeah.
and discard her as an empty nutshell or some kind of husk when you're done with them.
Yeah, they also have like all this fear. It's so like there was a poem, I'll see if I can find it, but because they were talking about how women are essentially walking the trains and
Hmm.
that the man would be better off like being in the mouth of a snake. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, it was pretty gruesome.
Well, and not just women, specifically older women. So any woman
Yeah.
over 20 is used up, ready to go in the trash, a la Pabel, and they are like jackal faced, pig nose, um, just any kind of wild animal, because they're mature and they won't let you abuse them. So that's why
Right. They
they
were
love
too
one.
jaded.
Yeah,
They're worn down.
right. They don't want to be used up and discarded like an empty husk. So this mystery, this whole thing, like we said, it consists in the sacrifice of the feminine principle and the manipulation of erotic love in order to attain universal androcentric power, what they call.
Right. Yeah, this is the poem. They said those are not wise, act like animals, racing towards female form, like hogs forward mud.
Yep.
Because of the mud, yeah. Because of their ignorance, they are bewildered by women who, like profit seekers in the marketplace, deceive those who come near. It reminded me of like in is it in the I don't remember if it's Homer or Iliad, but the sirens, like that's how they see them. Like
Hmm.
that's how they see all women, that they're just there to deceive them and take advantage of them.
Right. And that's, we're seeing this pop up in all the strangest places, people like Andrew Tate in the Manosphere, and
Yep.
all of those people in that documentary that we're going to cover pretty soon, me and Tristan and Jay, inside the Manosphere. But like I said, so they're saying, oh, you need to escape the Matrix. Women are evil. They're all feminists. They're all gonna take your money. They're just gold diggers. And this leads to horrible things like India, Pakistan, those regions are terrible for cases of female infanticide. Now, I don't know if you heard this, but in the East, especially like in China, India, Pakistan, those places, they have such a surplus of men that they're not able to find wives because of gender selecting abortion, because they don't want girls.
Wow.
They have millions and millions of surplus men because they have systemically done this female infanticide because women are inferior.
China stopped that because their population was dwindling.
Yeah, yeah.
So for purely strategic reasons, they realized that this was not a good idea.
Mhm.
I don't know why it took them so long. Like, seems like it's a bad idea. Then how are you going to propagate the race, the species? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know they now have robo wombs, so then maybe they're not as worried about it now. But
Oh, they keep threatening. I just saw them put a baby in a robot's arms and a bottle came out of the chest and the baby was sucking on the bottle. And I'm like, oh man, what are we? Because they teach the monks to fear and dread women, attempt to escape them. The feminine is despicable, uh, but they are useful to elevate themselves. And so they'll say, oh no, we think women are goddesses, right? We respect the feminine, but they don't tell you the fate of these goddesses.
right. Well,
Right.
they think of them as goddesses, but they want to extract the goddess power. It's not
Right.
that they worship them. In fact, maybe we should go through the phases because in one phase, like it's like the compassionate, so they do worship them, but it's only so that they can build up a little bit of karma and
Mhm.
be subsumed,
Mhm.
essentially.
So
Yeah,
what we're talking about is called the what's it called? Vrajnayana.
Vajrayana, which is
Yeah.
like the specific form of tantra. Yeah.
And this is what they call the diamond vehicle. So they consider the phallus, they actually worship the phallus in the shape of the Mount Meru. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's called the diamond vehicle because diamonds are so hard, and you've got this hard phallus that's supposed to, go against the soft lotus. Um, and they're taught to visualize first a woman. And I don't know how to put this, gooning or edging is central to their practice. So, you know what edging is, right?
I don't think I do.
Oh
No.
man. Okay, so edging is basically like stimulating yourself
Okay.
so long without release. And the longer
Okay.
you can hold it in, the more magic powers you're supposedly storing up. So
Okay. Yeah.
this is crazy. The Buddhist monk or this Tantra practitioner is not supposed to let go of his seat. He
Okay.
taught how to, through breathing techniques and mastery of his own body, to use his diamond vehicle to extract the juices from I mean, this is so crazy, Courtney. Oh my gosh. What is your chat saying right now? They think that
Uh,
the penis can suck the juices out of the
they're
woman
just
instead
listening.
of depositing the seed in the womb because that would be, crazy, right? That
Hmm.
would lead to more births, which is what they don't want. So they think that the yogi's penis can suck out her juices and his semen together, and these will mix together, and that will travel up his spine and into his brain and make him a magician.
Oh,
What do you think, chat? Is this crazy or what?
I'm checking the chat now,
Okay.
but right on yeah, they're just kind of watching.
Oh,
No comments on it yet.
just eyes like this, right? Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, yeah, we have that. Yeah.
So they first try to envision this goddess who they edge to, and then make her what they call a daikini. So then, like the second phase is you use real women in these rituals, and then after they're discarded, there's a woman inside of you, or several women inside of you, they say. And these spirit women can be sacrificed at will, and they can have sex with these goddesses inside themselves as long as they want to. And they can also sacrifice them to the yogi. They call them daikinis, okay? So these are like female spirits
Hmm.
that they think are inside of them. And that's where this whole goddess things come up when you hear people saying, oh, but why would they have a goddess if they're so misogynist? But it's only for the purpose of sacrificing later
Right.
on.
And extracting from,
Yeah.
yeah, that power. Oh, yes.
So this,
So, mhm.
I'm just looking at these notes. This is so crazy. They actually do use this symbol. I don't know what you want to call it, but it is the triangle, the upward
Right,
triangle and the downward triangle, the penis and the vagina, and together it makes this magic hexagram, and that's very central to their mandalas also.
right. The triangles are, or
The the upward and downward triangle.
right.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I can
Hexagram.
see it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I see it. Yes. Yeah. So they, yeah, so they have like all of these stages. So there's the external woman, the karma mudra,
Hmm.
right? And then it
Hmm.
goes to the internalized woman, which is the jhana mudra, and then the inner woman, which is kandali, which is the drop system, and
Hmm.
then the androgen, which we were talking about, the maha mudra,
Hmm.
and then the adi buddha, which is the cosmic androgen world ruler,
Yes.
and then the reincarnation mechanism where the female soul is reborn as a male.
Right. And this Adi Buddha is very similar to the Adam Kadmon of Kabbalah. So the Adi Buddha is supposed to be the world man, the universal, um, I don't even know the English word how to describe it, but he's the overman, the Adi Buddha,
Okay.
right?
All
And
right.
they
Okay.
also have this, they're looking forward to Armageddon. So it's not
Yeah.
that peaceful.
I thought that was so interesting too, because there's so many recurring themes with that, right? That's what Barbara Marx Hubbard kept talking about, escape from Armageddon. That's what Peter Thiel's talking about, essentially the same as Barbara Marx Hubbard. It's
Mhm.
the dichotomy of, Armageddon or the Antichrist,
Mhm.
which is the same thing she was saying. Um, and then there's the Kali Yuga, which was like the Evola, who was also I didn't realize he was into this at this degree, but he was also talking about, yeah, the essentially Armageddon. He called it the apocalyptic stage, but yeah,
Yeah, and so they think this is going to take place, I guess, in like 2300 or something like that.
yeah,
But all of their prophecies say that half of the world is going to be, or not, split up into Buddhists against Islam, and that is going to be the big war between
right.
uh, Adi Buddha and Muhammad.
Yeah, that was really interesting too. That they're at such odds, because I think in some ways they're very similar, especially with the Buddhocracy. So I guess it's just because it's competition, not because they're really ideologically opposed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of, I mean, most of these monks are actually taken away from their mother at a young age and put into these monasteries to be raised by these tantric masters. So it's not even a voluntary thing at that level in most cases.
I can't. Can you imagine that? Like being a child and you grow up in that? That's interesting too, because I just think it's the parallels between Theosophy. Obviously, they drew largely from Tibetan Buddhism,
Mhm.
but the whole story of Krishnamurti, right? They basically stole him and then
Mhm.
raised him, but he rejected it. He was like, I had enough of
Yeah, the
this.
Maitreya, that's what they are looking for, this Messiah, which um, when I was reading one of those New Age books, it said that they think that he's going to be revealed in 2025. I guess that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's right. 2025 was the big year because that was supposed to be the externalization of the hierarchy.
Mhm.
Yeah. Although
But
I don't know, maybe it did happen. I mean, we had all those globalist meetings, and then we had I had, the AI agents were released, and I don't know.
Maybe it's somebody in the Trump family. I don't know.
It's yeah, they're looking more and more like that. I had posted something about how, Constance Cumby was so convinced that Trump was the Antichrist. And John Klasik like responded, no, she wasn't fully convinced. I'm like, okay, we can split hairs on this, but I mean, she sent me home with 10 books saying you have to read these books about Trump being the Antichrist. And like, well, she had several figures in mind. Like, it's entirely possible. But all I know is that increasingly, I don't necessarily believe he's the Antichrist, but I'm like, she might have been onto something.
Well, there could be
He's,
several options, you know. There's a whole Reddit about Trump as the Antichrist if you're
is
interested.
there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, I don't love a lot of things he's doing, but I'm not so sure I would pin that on him. But he
Mhm.
has essentially positioned himself as the world monarch, as the head of the Board of Peace.
Mhm, mhm.
It's literally like a world monarch
Well,
position.
and you know the Israelis tell him that he is, and they put him on the coins with the Cyrus the Great, and give him all of these prizes. And the Ark of the Covenant replica was there at Mar-a-Lago for a long time. I mean, there's pictures of Laura Loomer standing beside this giant Ark of the Covenant there at Mar-a-Lago.
Laura
Uh,
Loomer was just 2 weeks ago with the Dalai Lama. Wasn't it a few weeks ago?
no way. Well, there
Yeah.
you
Yeah, there she is.
go.
I
I
think
know.
it was really recent. Yeah.
Well, pull up those clips. I know you have of good old Dolly slurping on kids, as Theo Vaughn would say. You got that one?
No.
Asking kids to suck his
Oh,
tongue.
oh, yes, yes, this. I think we have it a little bit blurred out, but
Then
yes,
something
this
funny
was
is here
gross.
also.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I don't. It's so crazy to me because like I try to be, fair when so many people have presented a
Then
lot of
suck my
kind of
tongue.
criticisms about. Oh, this is yeah. About this book, but I'm like, then you see things like this, and it's kind of like, really, we're gonna contest it? It seems like there's a lot of
Then suck
evidence.
my tongue.
Yeah. As far as Trump's concerned, though, he's positioned himself like kind of on all sides because essentially it looks like all the money that he's getting for the World Liberty Financial, it's all like uh, Gulf Sovereign Wealth Fund money. So it's like the Saudis, Qataris, um, and it looks like I actually wrote an article on this. I haven't published it yet, but it was like the house always wins. So
Hmm.
essentially, he's positioned himself that regardless, it doesn't look like America wins, but it looks like whether or not, because the Gulf sovereign wealth funds have just positioned, they're hedging their bets. So they've just invested in everyone. So that whoever ends up, then either way, they're the winners. But they've made these deals with him where he stands to make trillions of dollars off it,
Hmm.
literally
Hmm.
crazy. So
And so, but Tibet is this, you know, a theocracy. I know people don't.
they call it the Buddhocracy is what they're trying, a world Buddhocracy is what they wanted to create.
Yeah. And this is very compatible with ecumenism because, like we were talking about, it's close to Kabbalah, it's close to
Yeah.
Rosicrucian with the sacred marriage ritual. And the light also plays a significant role in Tantra. And because they have this catalog of photisms, they say, including sparks, lamps, candles, balls of light, rainbows, pillars of fire, and flashing lights of meditation. So they are very interested in the light, which is very close to Kabbalah, which says that God was this united ball of light who fractured, and all of these sparks went out into the universe, and everybody has a tiny little spark of God in them. And if we all like go together like a mecha transformer, then we can be the Adam Kadmon again. But really, they just want to sacrifice you and obliterate your ego, and be done with it.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about that is that Nick Land, who was also inspired by Evola, And his whole framing is actually very Kabbalistic. So he maps it onto technology, but he calls it retrotronic. So essentially, like, I think when most people think of it, they think about how we're building the post-human world using coding the technology that will replace us. But what he actually says is that it's using us retrotronically, like the retrocausal effect, where it's using humans as nodes and they're rearranging it to build the future. So
Mhm.
they're like, I mean, it's a hard concept to wrap your head around, but it is very much Kabbalistic in terms of just like kind of a technological tree of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was also very inspired by Julius Evola and the traditionalists, so which is what apparently was studying this weird Vajrayana. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah.
Vajrayana, yeah.
Vajrayana.
And so you see all these like guys in their robes and their red and saffron and orange, and they're very like meek and peaceful, but you're not realizing that central to their religion is what they call the law of inversion, right?
Hmm.
Which is good.
Yes.
Is Crowley talked about this all the time. That's why he would prefer to do rituals with ugly women, because you're supposed to gross yourself out and get over it, because the magician can transcend all of these physical boundaries, right? So every type of passion, which is normally considered taboo by Buddhist standards, in other sects of Buddhism, they're nurtured in Vajrayana with the goal of transforming it into its opposite. So they think that they can be the alchemist that turns poop into gold, literally,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Literally.
And
Yeah.
so on this diamond path, excesses are part of it. Evil, they think, can only be driven out by evil. And so they think sin purges sin. And every ritual is designed to catapult the initiated into a state beyond good and evil. And that is what the checkerboard floor represents in magic.
Interesting. And the beyond good and evil, because they bring up Nietzsche. They talk about the Nietzsche shadow. I mean, they also use the reference of Plato's cave, and they say that the West is essentially in the cave, and we're just staring at the shadows, and we've bought this lie
Mhm.
about him being this peaceful, wonderful figure. But that is essentially a fantasy that we've created because we're staring at the. But they also talk that, but the beyond good and evil concept is interesting because they bring up Nietzsche's
Right.
shadow.
And well, speaking of Nietzsche and nihilism, this book, which I'm going to be reporting on in a little bit, Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future.
Mhm.
So this is by Father Seraphim Rose, who's about to become the first North American saint
Oh.
posthumously. And he is talking all about Eastern mysticism, Buddhism, how it's directly against creation and meaning and God, and how it all tends to go towards nihilism and destruction of your own ego.
Well, that's what struck me the most reading this was that when you say it's like a rejection of creation because they have no respect for the physical world.
Right.
Everything is about moving beyond the physical world. So it's so they don't have any kind of like respect for reality either. They
Hmm.
think because they think they're magicians, they think they can actually just create reality out of their imagination, which is wild. Because
Yes. So they are trying to be the comic book character Doctor Strange and the sorcerer of time, because this all has to do with cycles of time. Kala means time. Tantra actually means weaving, like the
hmm
art of like tying together a weaving. And Kali, the Indian goddess, she is very much connected to time. So Buddhists are androcentric,
hmm
and the Hindu sects who worship Kali are gynocentric, and there is sort of war going on in the cosmic realms. Who is going to control time, a man or a woman goddess, right? But
Right. And the Kalachakra is the wheel, the wheel of time.
yeah, Kalachakra, right? Just
Right.
like Kali is the
Right.
goddess of time, the Black Death. So in order to keep all of this gross stuff hidden from the public, all this offensive things implicated in the Tantra text. Now, the book that you sent me, it was how much? $600.
I know. I
We couldn't
know.
afford it. And I'm like, can we print it out, Courtney? She's like, that's
I,
gonna
I
be
would like to print it.
$200.
It's going to cost $600. It's
Yeah.
going to be like 500 to print 2 copies. So it's like,
Oh,
yeah, I guess we'll read it on the computer.
I
What are
literally
you
read
doing?
a 600-page book. I'm 300 pages in. We're gonna do part two soon, but on
Yes.
my phone while we were traveling, I
Oh,
read
you did on the phone. Oh my gosh.
because we were gone all month, and
Right.
so I look up Shadow the Dalai Lama PDF or whatever, and it's got the whole thing on there. You don't have to buy it for $600.
Yeah.
But my eyes are, ruined. But I had to know. So, like, whenever Jay was doing a podcast when we were on this, podcast tour, he'd be sitting in the studio doing it, and I'd be like furiously reading my phone and scribbling notes about like Tantra. And they're like, "So, what have you been doing?" Like, you don't want to
You know,
reading
you
about
don't want to
penises
know.
sucking up juices into your brain. I don't want to talk about it, right? But so what they do is they make use of it's called twilight language, which Michael Hoffman talks about in the secret societies, where they use nice words for things like lotus instead of vagina, and like lingam instead of penis, or like
Yeah.
whatever. So they have these veiled references to substances, like I was saying, all kinds of gross bodily fluids, body parts, illegal deeds, and their idea of enlightenment consciousness is very much centered around sperm. And I didn't know this, but a lot of people in the East are super concerned with women stealing their sperm or their like energy.
Wow.
Yeah. So they want to keep their sperm in as much as possible so that, like succubuses and stuff can't get it. But actually, this Tantra practices are designed to create these evil female spirits that the yogi can use to send out and seduce people or curse them or make them have like dirty dreams or whatever. So, yeah, they are in the business of making succubuses.
Oh, lovely. The when I've heard the Dalai Lama, he has several times actually said, I don't remember his exact words, but essentially that there's like an esoteric and esoteric message, like that we speak one for the public and one privately. So he essentially has admitted that there's, the public yoga, and then
Mhm.
there's the practices.
Well,
Yeah.
they have in the Tibetan temples, you have the place where the public can go and watch what you're doing, but then they have a
Yeah.
secret room called the Gokung where
Gilgan.
the demons are and where these initiation rituals take place. So, yeah, the urine and the excrement of the higher lamas is sought after as medicines. So they're trying to, oh my gosh, it's so gross. Look at these notes. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the Gokhan I thought was I mean, as gross as it is, I thought that was also some like pretty hard evidence because there are physical rooms and they
mhm,
have like worship, stuff there. So
mhm. And
yeah.
the goal of, some of these higher rituals. Now, let me see if I can do this from memory. So, an aspirant has a guru, and he goes through this ritual where he's supposed to bring the guru 10 women of like, and they need to be like his wives or his daughters or his family members. So he's essentially bringing this feminine sacrifice to his guru, and they all go around and do this gross ritual where like I don't even want to remember this. Intercourse without letting go of your seed, and then the guru has to stick his lingam in the initiate's mouth because it has all these magic powers on it after he like sticks it in his sister. um And the point of all of this is to absorb the initiate's soul into
Hmm.
the guru, and now they think that they are one thing. So, uh, in their mind, this is a way to have eternal life because you are they were apostolically success from Buddha, and now that they're in this timeline, the God is still alive and living through all of these initiates and gurus. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And it's also part of how they kept them, like the serfs,
Yeah.
from revolting, because they said that um, because they had this whole tradition of karma, that you could, in your next life, you could achieve a better life if you were a good serf. And so and that's, yeah, so essentially it's the same philosophy that kept people from revolting, which is crazy. I mean, if you think about how horribly they were treated, and that kind of like it's essentially psychological conditioning. I mean, they just brainwashed them to believe that, they're gonna have maybe a slightly better life in their next reincarnation. Um, so it's perfectly acceptable for them to be, and they were taught that it's acceptable for them to be treated the way that they were treated, because the reason they were serfs is because they earned it in their last life. And the reason why the aristocracy were aristocracy is because they had done something in their previous life to warrant it. So can you imagine just like living in a society where people believe that, and they won't take any kind of steps to, I mean, there's no kind of concept of upward mobility, of, breaking out of whatever, because it's literally a caste system, but it's a caste
Mhm.
system that's been ingrained because of your belief.
Yes, that's why they can just, step over a dying person or a person with missing leg or whatever and not care because in their mind that person has done something to deserve that and they are just playing out their, karmic retribution or whatever.
Right, right.
But there's not a lot of social programs, there's not a lot of charitable thinking, like you said, upward mobility, there's not a lot of compassion for the human
Hmm.
condition in this religion, really.
Yeah, I found that section to be really interesting, though, when they talk about, I forgot what it was called, but it was one of the stages where they're like compassionate to the woman, but it's only so that she can build up karma so they can get more energy from her.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so it says because women are considered the greatest obstacle on the masculine path to enlightenment, according to the tantric law of inversion, they are, for the adept, the most important touchstone on the path of initiation. He who gains mastery over women controls all of creation. So, in this thinking, a repulsive woman might serve the yogi well. And they even say that you are doing ugly women a favor by sleeping with them because you're so divine and stealing their
Right.
energy and lying to them, manipulate. So you can see how none of this is good for females at all. Oh,
It's not good for the entire like species.
right. No, it's not good for anybody, but especially 8-year-old girls who they have
Yeah.
a proclivity for, like we were talking about, the young ones because they have more of this thing that
Synergy. Yeah.
and speaking of that, I mean, the Dalai Lama was in the Epstein files.
I know. Like 1,200 times or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not that that's surprising, but yeah. It was in there, and they met in 2012. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have this death wish. They have this externalized uh, death wish that manifests in ritual murder. Now, I'm not accusing anybody, allegedly. This is just a book we're reading. I'm not saying anybody murdered anybody, but this is what they are alluding to.
Hmm.
Texts themselves is not just a symbolic sacrifice, but an actual sacrifice. And if we look at cults that are very close to this, like the cult of Kali, that is a huge indicator that this is real. So what they would do in Kali cults is well, because she's the mother goddess, right? So you're not supposed to
Mhm.
kill women in Kali cults. So you would go and befriend a band of travelers, right? If you
Mhm.
were a devotee of Kali, and you were in this cult, you would go into a new town and you would find somebody who's not from there or people who are traveling in a group, and you say, "Oh, come travel with us. It's much safer.
Mhm.
Don't go alone." And so as you're on your journey out in the middle of nowhere and you're sharing a campfire, all of the Kali cult members would, do a nod at the same time, and you turn to the person next to you and kill them, strangle them, right? And
Yeah.
this is the offering to Kali.
Well, yeah.
So if anyone asks you to travel with them in India and you think they're a devotee of Kali, just don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah. And unless you have some sort of a death wish.
But due to this like law and inversion that they talk about, it is seen as an honorable deed to deliver the world from undesirable people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So their justifications is crazy to me that they believe that.
Yeah.
Let's see if yeah. Let me see. Yeah, so sexual desire is a path to liberation, violation of incest taboo, eating impure substances.
Hmm?
I won't list them all. And this one too, necrophilia and ritual sex with corpse.
Yes. Let's see.
Yeah.
In Mahayana Buddhism, the naked corpse of a woman was considered the most effective meditation object. To increase the intensity, they would dismember her ears, nose, hands, feet, and breast, and the disfigured trunk became the object of contemplation and arousal.
Wow. Yeah.
This says a master can also eat souls. And the Vedas speak of the gods nourishing themselves from the life fluids of ritually slaughtered humans. Sometimes the yogi will consume his partner's menstrual blood in a type of communion. To gain the energy for himself, a yogi must kill the possessor of the substance and incorporate her.
Wow. Yeah.
What's going on in the chat now? I don't know.
Let's see. Um,
Are you entertained?
yeah, some
Gross.
people say nothing so yeah, I'm just yeah, gross. Yeah. Nothing surprises me at this point. This was same Dalai Lama that was allies with Hitler, yes.
Mhm.
Sick, gross, yes. Thuggies,
Buggies, that's it.
yeah, yeah.
Her other name would be Durga or Kali, the mother goddess, right?
Yeah, Kali's mother, Durga was her other name. She
Yeah.
had two names.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yep. So this is all very phallocentric, which is
Mm-hmm.
what Crowley also taught. He called it your dwarf phallic consciousness or your holy guardian angel, basically just your libido or your boner. And literally, they would say that your erection is like the needle on a compass directing you to what is right.
So wasn't yeah, it was Da Vinci who also said like they should be it's not exactly the same, but it's similar. Is this idea like that he shouldn't give to women because that would be his creative energy.
Mhm.
And so like giving it to a woman would be like wasting his creative energy.
Right.
It's not exactly the same, but it sounds very similar.
Which is against nature because you're supposed to give your seed so she can give you a child. I mean, that's just
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
biology.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to suck out her juice and take it to your brain. That sounds insane, right? That sounds
Yeah.
impossible. I don't think that is a thing. Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's not a thing.
But the phallus of the tantric, they say this diamond scepter, um, The Vajra, they call it, is also
Hmm.
worshipped in India and Greece as a lightning symbol. So that's pretty interesting. They say Hellenistic influence of the double-headed axe of Crete is also of the gynocentric origin of the mother goddess who carries a double-headed axe and sacrifices the bull. Now we're getting into the Greco-Roman area and the cult of Cybele, who is also
Hmm.
a mother goddess, who her cult was worshipped. I mean, her cult worshipped by castration,
Hmm.
by cross-dressing, by like transgender stuff, by crazy rituals where they would become possessed. Um, and then, yeah, they even talk about the fantastical priest of the Phrygian mother goddess, which I have done a lot of in my talks. And they are talking about Cybele, which is so crazy in relation to Kali. But that makes sense because Crowley's Scarlet Woman was supposed to be Kali, Ishtar, and the whore Babylon from Revelation.
So they just drawing from all of these ancient mystery cults? Is that essentially what's going on here? And they've
Uh,
kind of,
I think
yeah.
a lot of syncretism totally going on here because you've got the four major civilizations of antiquity, like India, China, that area, and then you have Greece and Rome, Babylon, and so they are all definitely sharing ideas and basically just how to abuse women and become some kind of dark sorcerer.
Yes, by abusing women. I don't know what they think is going to happen when they've taken from all the women or done away with them.
Well, they actually talk in the Tremonti book about alchemy and how this stuff correlates to like he says that the Eastern Tantric and Western alchemists have the same spiritual goal, which is solve coagula. Now that's something
Hmm.
I find on the Baphomet image,
Hmm.
right? The
Yeah.
hermaphrodite who is both man and beast, who is both male, female, who is both from the mundane world and the spiritual world. He's got his, all of the things, all of
Right.
the opposites in one
Yes.
that they call Baphomet, and then it says a solve and coagula. Dissolve and bind is the English word. But
Yeah.
this is also the principle of the Hermetic arts, and it controls the
Yes.
sacred ritual as the yogi dissolves his human body to reconstruct it in a divine body. So the parallels between Tantrism and European alchemy include the alchemic female sacrifice, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much like Hermeticism, which is Western.
Mhm.
Yeah. But in practice, I guess they don't care because they don't believe in the physical domain. But I'm just like, what's going to happen to the species, right? Did anybody think about that? I do wonder, I mean, reading this, I'm curious your thoughts on it. Like how much of this was the author seemed to very much have a thought on it, but how much of this is like a genuine belief system that evolved, like a syncretic, because you can take all of these Western, all of these kind of ancient mysteries and build on them and create like a syncretic belief. That
Mhm.
can be done organically, or it could be used literally as a control mechanism.
Mhm.
Um, because some of this is obviously, if you've grown up in it and you've been washed, then you would because you don't know anything else. But I have to wonder about the origins of it.
Well, it's very satanic, going straight back to creation. So, like, if you look at Genesis, okay, God is, when he's creating, he's dividing. It says he divided the darkness from the light, he divided
Hmm.
the waters from the sky. He's
Hmm.
making distinctions because in order
Right.
to have anything, you have to have another thing. Um,
Hmm.
you can't say, I love you unless there's an I and a you. Does that make
Right,
sense?
right.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
male female distinctions for life to grow. Okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna have
Law
to
of
have
non-contradiction, right? You can't
clarity.
be and not be. Yeah.
Right. But what they're trying to do is and this is the idea of pan too, is dissolve everything back into some kind of primordial
One.
ooze or anti-creation that was how the universe was before God made all of these distinctions.
Right. And that would be the like ultimate returning to God, that we would all be one, essentially.
In their mind, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're
I'm not saying I
all
agree. I'm just saying, yeah.
your own character that God gave you as a distinct being, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are Courtney
Right.
Turner, an immortal spirit who God loves and has created and has given all of these like distinct gifts, and you're beautiful and you're smart and you're all of these things. But in this theology, you would just have to dissolve everything that you are
Right.
and put it back into this cosmic being, and the goal, the nirvana, is non-being, which sounds terrifying. Who
Terrifying.
Yeah, who
But
wants to obliterate their own personality?
yeah. And why do they hate women so much? Is it because women are the creation? Yeah, like
Yes, because God was born from a woman. Because yeah, they even say like Satan and the woman are at enmity because Jesus was going to come out of a woman.
yeah, yeah, it really is just satanic. It's just anti-God.
Yeah, anti-creation,
Anti-God.
anti-natalist, all of these things. And oh, so you were talking about, I just found the page with the three stages. So
Mm-hmm.
number one, the sacrifice of the dark woman or black matter or the matrix, and this is the Negredo stage that you would call it in alchemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, the absorption of the virgin milk or gynergy.
Right.
And this is the albedo stage. And then three, the construction of the cosmic androgen through Beto, or the prima materia, where feminine matter was associated with a snake, dragon, toad, viper, python, and Mother Nature. So, yeah, it's just basically from being into non-being, and this is how you get there.
Right. This is to merge them into one.
Mhm.
Except that it's not, you're not merging them both into one, really, because it's just subsuming the female.
Right, but he is subsuming himself into the master who has given
Yes.
himself over to his own master, going all the way back to however long. So now you are one with this like demonic spirit, really, that you have allowed to incarnate in your own body, and you are one with that thing. Yeah, that weird old thing. What
Yes. It looks like the Joker.
is that? The time man? The time, what's his name?
The
The guy at the end of time
Kalachakra.
destroys everything.
Yeah, I can't see.
I can't call him.
Kalachakra.
Yeah.
I think that's what it says, Kalachakra. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
the face looks like the Joker.
mhm.
Right.
Oh, good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And if you'll notice in a lot of these tantric Buddhism mandalas, you're gonna find like this like black Buddha with a woman in his lap as he's, in
Mm-hmm.
converse with her
Right.
and sucking out all of her female energy. And you'll notice in it, there's no, I guess somebody said the women don't appear, they only appear with their back to you in these artworks and these mandalas because they're that.
Oh yeah, they do. That's true.
One of these actually is called the Inanna Mudra, which I found interesting because Inanna was the goddess of uh sex and war from ancient Mesopotamia.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, there.
Yeah, there he is,
Yeah.
taking her gynergy.
Yes. And yeah, it is always the back,
Yep.
even there.
So
That is
they actually
interesting.
do. I just did a show yesterday about the Babylonians and what it was
Uh-huh.
like back in 3000 BC. And the Tremondis talk about this. They say the transformation of the Babylonian whore into a virgin is the spiritual elixir or holy Sophia is both an image of the physical magic fluid, moon dew, water of wisdom, white virgin milk. This is just discharge, what they're talking about,
Okay.
right? Which is what this book is all about.
Right.
Cult of
Well,
the
that's,
shadow,
yeah.
how to use, your female victim's discharge in ceremonial magic.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, that's not surprise from Crowley. His descriptions are quite detailed
Yeah.
and gruesome.
So the Trimondi say the sacrifice of Sophia obliterates female autonomy and destroys the Anonymouter, where she continues to function inside the androgynous alchemist who becomes a grand sorcerer or spiritual king, the universal hermaphrodite who can develop unlimited power as a man woman or lord of both sexes.
Well, yeah. Just assuming ultimate power through taking from her. Yeah, this article was very interesting. This was more of the political stuff, but all of the CIA involvements, $1.7 million to the Tibetan resistance, and the $180,000 to him per year. That was in like the 60s. A lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so everyone was kind of united like in favor of him because like the left saw him as anti-imperialist, the right saw him as anti-communist, Hollywood saw him as just this, peace-loving, like, sensual essence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he had everybody kind of being his ambassador while all of this stuff was going on. And the people in who he was actually ruling over were saying that he was a despot and it was a brutal theocracy and people were living in like really horrible conditions.
Mm-hmm. And people who were exiled, political
Hmm.
dissidents, are unalived or kicked out of the country. So there is no going against the Dalai Lama in Tibet. And think how popular it is now to go like climb Mount Everest.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
It,
very trendy thing to do.
yeah, like so much so that it's crowded and there's litter all over the mountain because there's so many people trying to do this. And you have to go through the cities of Tibet to get to, the mountain, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And you are going to be maybe influenced by these monks, these priests. I saw this one video where this guy, he visited the Temple of Dix, which makes perfect sense,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Um, so yeah, and like I said, their mountain, their sacred Shambhala place is just basically a giant phallus,
Right.
Kathmandu.
And it's supposed to be right above the Gobi Desert, right?
Mhm.
That's what that's what Theosophists say, that Shambhala is like a literal place above the Gobi Desert. But yeah, they have that picture with the eyes. Yeah. It's really weird to me. So when I was in ninth grade, I remember him so well, Mr. Fair. He had these like Coke bottle thick glasses and very sweet, older man. And he was actually a Buddhist monk. And so we spent the first like several months of ninth grade reading, like we read what was it? The Bhagavita?
Oh,
Yeah.
Bhagavad, yeah.
Yeah, we read that. But yeah, so we went through like all of the, learned about Nirvana and how you can become one with, Atman, so you can go to Brahman. And
Mhm.
it's so weird to read this in hindsight, thinking about that because he was like the sweetest, just he was literally a monk.
Mhm.
And he lived up on a mountain for years and yeah. I don't think he took practice in any of this, to be really honest. Yeah.
Well, what we're talking about is a very specific branch
Yeah.
of Buddhism.
Yes. Yeah.
Your neighbor is probably not doing this, right?
Yeah.
Your girls at yoga class are not doing this, but they can, fall down into being in the same circles as a crazy guru. or yogi
Well,
who
I think that's the idea because it's kind of that's why it's crazy to me because I'm not insinuating that any of them are purchased. I know Mr. Fair wasn't. I mean, I can be pretty sure of that. Um, but I think that that's the whole idea is that they like with any kind of cult, there's like the inner rings and there's the outer, and the outer is designed to groom people to draw them in, and then certain people get initiated, right? And then you can become part of the next inner ring. And yeah, so people can
I'm
people
gonna
can fall into
initiate
it.
you with my diamond lingam.
Yeah, exactly. But I can see, I mean, I think witnessed like how exactly how that works. I mean, like in the circles I was in, people like yoga was everything, right? It becomes like a religion.
Yeah.
And look, most of these people who were doing yoga, just regular yoga practice, were not anywhere near this, but it becomes such a big part of your life. And then it's like, what's the next step? What's the next, you do your 200 hour, then you do your 500 hour, then you do retreats in Tibet. A lot of
Mhm.
them started in, they would go, I mean, it was always on Instagram. You'd see everybody has their pictures in Indonesia, in Bali. And
Mhm.
it's beautiful. I've never been, but I mean, the pictures look incredible,
We want
but yeah, exactly. But then I can see how this, like, some people fall into this, and that I do know people who were doing Tantra, and so yeah, they were, it started as like the way that they would get lured into it was like, well, couples can go, and this would be a way you can deepen your practice, and you can deepen your practice together and you can build intimacy. And I mean, on the surface, I mean, that sounds like, if you don't have, I mean, most of these people weren't like religious people, they were like, okay, that sounds great. And well, there's nothing on the face of it that you would reject, except that, I can see how that would be entryism.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're advertising to a lot of men that they have to hold in their climax forever, right?
Yeah, that might not make it as popular.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh, Osho. Okay, so here's
Oh,
a
yeah.
perfect example of just like a sweet looking guy who just says like kind words and funny quips and leading yoga retreats. Oh, now suddenly he's building an entire community out in where was that, like Oregon or something?
Yeah.
Buying acres and acres and
That's the
acres of
documentary,
land.
Wild Wild Country.
Wild Country, right? So he bought all of this land to build this monastery or retreat center, right? To invite
Yeah.
all of the Western people to initiate them into yoga and Eastern mysticism. And then what? They start taking over the nearby town because they're all registered to vote now, so they can influence politics, right?
Yep.
And not only that, they're taking buses of homeless people and picking them up all around the country and busing them into their compound and like registering them to vote so that they can like take over incrementally. And not only that, then they're poisoning people in the town that try to fight back against this.
Yep.
Like they poisoned the buffet at the restaurant so that all of the townspeople got sick. And then what happened is it came out that Osho was actually an asset.
Yep.
And when they looked around his uh, temple or wherever he stayed, it was all hidden cameras of the type that you just can't get just anywhere. Like the whole thing was a mass surveillance area that was set up professionally, right, by
Hmm.
agencies. Um,
Yep.
and he's so rich, he's got all of these Rolls Royces, and so he was definitely some kind of government asset.
Asset. Yeah. Which is the Dalai Lama was a CIA asset. So, yeah, it's very, very useful. And especially when you have the exoteric messaging of, love and light and peace and
Mhm.
this just kind of smiling figure. And yeah. Let's see, where else do we want to go with it? This was so dense. I'm lost.
We're going to be doing shows about this for a long time, I fear, because I ordered that book that you sent me about the lady who escaped being the Tantra
Yes. Okay.
consort, right?
Say that again.
She was a consort of a high profile yogi.
Mm-hmm.
I just ordered it. It was called Traveler. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay. Traveler. Which one? I'm blank.
This one. Traveler in Space
Oh, okay. Okay.
by June Campbell.
Yeah.
So it's a scholarly analysis exploring general symbolism and Tibetan Buddhism and her nightmarish experience being the consort of one of these people.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. The symbols were a big part in the beginning. They talked about the symbols, right? The symbols of the the, the tantric symbols.
The
See if I
mandala.
can. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's see if I
so
can find.
I remember when I lived in Lawrence, Kansas, which is like just a nice little leave it to Beaver town.
Mm-hmm.
And one day at the art center, they had this special presentation where a yogi was making one of these sand mandalas. And
Okay.
the idea is that nothing is permanent, so they'll spend like several days making these giant artworks or mandalas out of different colors sand, right? And you can go watch them as they create this, and at the end, they just blow it away because this is supposed to represent how you know, matter and creation is just going to be obliterated at the end of time by, I forgot his name, Radu or something like that. Um, but yeah, when he comes at the end of Kali Yuga, he's going
Mm-hmm.
to, yeah, there it is,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Oh, and the wheels, the wheels that they talk about are actually war machines, so it's not
Yeah.
peaceful.
Yeah. I know. That was crazy.
Yeah, it looked just like that too. So everything has its meaning, every color, every layer. Um, let me see. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the case is so that was Drew Campbell. Is Drew Campbell related to June Campbell?
I don't know.
Because they mention her in the book. She was a former nun and translator who revealed the secret consort of Kalu Ripinosh. And she described the relationship as an abuse of power involving psychological blackmail and
Mhm.
threats of death if the vow of secrecy was broken.
Oh, here's another note about Kabbalah. So they call it the Kalachakra Palace. It's this alchemic laboratory for the appropriation of the life energy, the female energy, where women and erotic couples are sacrificed to the time gods. And there are it's called the procession of the 10 vases. So if you know about Kabbalah, the tree of life has 10
Mhm.
sephirah or nodes on it, right?
Mhm.
And here again in this magic we find the number 10, which is interesting because the 10 is also a male and a female, a 0 and a 1,
Oh,
right? It's a binary also.
yeah. Okay.
And that's why uh in sorcery 11 is a sorcerer's number because it's outside of 10. And 9 is also a sorcerer's number, it's a satanic number. Um, and so when you put those together, 911,
Huh.
that's
Yes.
ritual magic.
Right.
So the 10 sephirah is supposed to be like perfection. And in here we have the procession of the 10 vases. which nobody know, like white people do not know what's in these vases. It's actually bodily fluids and the gross stuff they were talking about, tonal clippings or whatever. So they have 10 vases, 10 powers, 10 winds, 10 shaktis, and 10 mudras. So that's another parallel with the Kabbalah. And so the Tantra master, he destroys this sand mandala at the end of the ritual with a
Yeah.
symbolic vajra. So
Yes.
he's taking a dick and erasing the world. That's basically what it means. Um,
Yeah.
so the symbol of the diamond dick and carries the sandy contents to a river and surrenders it there to the Nagas, which are serpent gods, as a gift.
Serpent gods as gifts.
Yeah. So he builds this entire universe out of sand that has all these symbolic meanings, and it's a very like protracted artistic process. And at the end, they just wipe it away and they take the sand and they pour it in the river as a sacrifice to the Nagas.
Ooh, wow. Yeah.
So they're awaiting the return or the creation of this world ruler, the Adi Buddha, uh,
Yeah.
right? Who is this universal sovereign? I mean, it's like an antichrist. Is literally
Mm-hmm.
they're saying he is the emperor of the universe and the wheel turner because chakra means wheel.
Right. The wheel turner. So essentially,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
the
call him.
controller.
Yeah, they call him the King of Kings. Um, his army conquers and subjugates the entire globe to establish a universal Buddhocracy where patriarchal power has the vision of when the feminine asserts independence and demands rights, there are lethal possibilities. So I don't know how many parallels you want to draw to like what's going on right now, but they definitely do not want women to have anything whatsoever.
Yeah. It does seem that way. Right. The power of 10, the Rahu, the cosmic swallower of the sun
Yeah,
and the
Rahu,
moon.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like the Antichrist. He's the doomsday figure. And then the Kal Kalagni, which is the doomsday mare. It's a fire that destroys the universe at the
Mhm.
end of the cosmic cycle.
Mhm.
And the myth of the eternal recurrence as a theological justification for cyclical violence. Well, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, eternal recurrence. This has all happened before. It's all going to happen again. It's just you're caught up in this mystic karmic wheel and you have to get off the ride by being obliterated into nothingness. That's the only way you can escape suffering according to them, right?
Right.
And then they have this aggressive myth. So the first part of the Trimondi um, book is talking about the aggressive myth of Shambhala.
Mm-hmm.
How they are world conquerors and they aren't just like peaceful meditators on a cloud, sitting crisscross applesauce doing nothing. So they have this legend where Buddha initiated the king of Shambhala into this secret doctrine somewhere around 878 BC, and they made Tantra the state religion. They call the ruler of Shambhala the Lord of Occult Knowledge, and it's a physical empire and a spiritual empire, right?
Both.
Right. And the borders can only be crossed by initiates, and it is invisible to mortal eyes. So you have a lot of people doing pilgrimages trying to find this mystical place. Aleister Crowley was one of them. Nicholas Roerich was another one of them, a mystic who influenced Henry Wallace and the president at the time, I can't recall. But yeah, this stuff has been coming to the West way earlier than the present
Yeah.
Dalai Lama.
Yeah. I feel like it's very pervasive in the West.
Is that Biden with him?
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. And
It's-
it's funny, he's got those like 70s cult sunglasses. You know,
Yeah, I know.
he always wears those. And I mean, California was the petri dish
Yeah.
for all of these cults, even Manson, what's the Pentecostal, just
Mm-hmm.
weird, crazy stuff, all is germinating there on the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, and Esalen was popularizing a lot of this too.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Embark on your personal journey. And that they also sold it as like self-help, right?
Mhm.
Human potential, self-actualization. I mean, that was Eslen's whole shtick, but I feel like they incorporated a lot of the Buddhist kind of concepts. And
Let me actualize your yoni
yes,
and heal you with my lingam because it is impossible for a woman to be holy in this religion.
right.
I mean, where are the feminists when it comes to this stuff? When it
That's
comes,
what I'm saying.
like, when it comes to, the treatment of women in Islam, where are the feminists? When it comes to the treatment of the women in the East and all of these mystic religion, I know they don't know because
Yeah.
I didn't even know, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks for Buddha pilling me, Courtney. First, I can't eat
Sorry.
cheese. Now Buddha's a villain. Um, remember when you talked about cheese on my show and about how all cheese in America is kind of like tainted?
Yeah, it is. It's a Pfizer product.
Yeah. So my audience was like, thanks for that cheese pill, horny. Um, so now we've got Buddha on the villain list. And yeah, these Tibetan Lamas, they boast that they will be reborn as generals in Shambhala army that will mobilize in the year 2327 AD when the world is half Buddhist and half Islam.
Yes, and then they're going to have some sort of a war.
Mhm.
So what is that going to be? Like what do they foresee then? Did they say?
Just that the Buddhists will win.
Oh, the
Uh,
Buddhists will win. Okay.
yeah, the dark will be annihilated, which is anyone who is not a follower of Buddha. And the tantric category of enemies with a false doctrine includes specifically, now this is weird, Enoch,
Okay.
uh, who if you're not familiar with the Book of Enoch, that's where we get a lot of information about the Watchers and the Nephilim
Mm-hmm. Right.
and the truth, a more fleshed out story of Genesis 6 when they talk about the interbreeding of the fallen angels and
Mm-hmm.
humans. So the Book of Enoch is all about that,
Right.
right? So that's an enemy of this. Abraham is an enemy of them. Moses and
Wait,
of
so
course, mhm,
so the Book of Enoch is an enemy of Buddhists?
yeah,
Interesting.
Enoch himself is an
Enoch.
enemy of Buddha, and a teacher of false doctrine in their religion, along with Abraham, Moses, and obviously Jesus. They do not like because their golden age is the Maitreya, like we were talking about.
Right. Right.
So, which they keep saying in politics, we're entering the golden age.
They
What the
do.
right? How many
Yes.
times have you seen Trump, Hegseth, uh, Kushner, all of these guys saying we're going into JD Vance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Elon has too, right?
yeah, yeah.
Musk, yeah. The whole Tescrial crowd. Yeah. I'm not
But
sure who it's a golden age for, but somehow I don't think it's us.
well, it's for these dudes.
Yes.
Oh, and then here's this crazy part. Let's see. They call him Kalki. So the Maitreya, the future Buddha incarnate, is called Kalki. Um, Iranian sun priests infiltrated into India in the first century AD and merged their concepts with Buddhism. They were known as Maga.
Yeah, that was very interesting. MAGA has so many references. Because it also in ancient Rome wasn't that like the magistrate
Yeah, so it's the
label? Yeah.
roots of the word magician or magi, which
Yeah.
I,
Magi.
yeah, could be a good thing because the magi saw the star and followed that. So
Mm-hmm.
astrology isn't all bad.
Sure.
Star calculations isn't inherently evil, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because the Magi follow the star to find Christ.
Right.
But these um these scholars presume the name Maitreya derives from Mithras, which is really interesting because Mithras was a Roman cult.
Yeah. And and actually that's really interesting too, because Jung was a Mithrian
Mhm.
and they incorporate, I mean, the whole concept of the shadow, which is Jungian. Is
Which,
this the,
if I remember correctly, you cannot be in the Mithras cult if you are a woman either.
yeah, no, I don't think so. I
It
think
was
that's right.
for men and specifically soldiers and centurions and warriors. So it's a
Warriors.
yeah.
Yeah. Jung envisioned he had a dream that he was the Lecopantus, which is the lion head, and was Satan. And he when he wrote about it, he said it wasn't a dream, like it was real, and
Mhm.
he's actually the fourth godhead. 'Cause he had this whole concept of the quaternary, which is, the four godheads, and the fourth one was Satan. And
Mm.
he said that essentially it was real, and that was him.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So that's yeah, Young Dreams, and then yeah, his Red Book is where he describes a lot of this as well. But he does talk about it in that the Dreams book. He talks about that dream. Yeah.
We did mention Jung in a couple pages ago talking about the anima. So the idea that you have to like incorporate your male female anima.
Yeah.
Um, this could be derived from tantrism on some
Hmm.
level, right?
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the first section, that I finished here in the Trimondi book, because it is 600 pages and I had to read it on
Yeah.
my phone and I had
Yes.
fun to do this. It says scholars nominate Egypt as the origin of Tibetan mysteries, and Madame Blavatsky wrote of the supernatural secret societies, the Brotherhood of Luxor, and the Tibetan Brotherhood in Isis Unveiled. So
Ooh.
uh, here's another syncretic goddess cult, Isis, right?
Yeah.
Sibylle, on all of these have the same attributes. Um, but yeah, it just gets so crazy how this has informed so much of our Western ideas of unity in
Hmm.
like the UN, for example,
Yeah. This is totally what the UN is drawing from.
and
Uh,
globalism, if you want to put it that way too,
yeah.
because that is removing distinctions and making us all into one like homogeneous glob. They
The
call it,
trans movement.
yeah, the globo homo cult.
Hmm.
You have
Yep.
no family, you have no blood ties, you have no language ties. It's all one. It's a pan.
Yeah. It's a pan. Yeah. No, it's so influential, and the whole kind of a collectivist kind of mindset, the idea that, it's for the greater good, that we need to be thinking about, the many versus the individual,
Mhm.
that become very pervasive, and it comes from this. And I think that that's so much of what they're trying to erode, is that when you started, when we started this conversation, we were talking about, when you think about Western capitalism, materialism, it's always that focus on, when they want to paint it as being evil, they say, there's too much focus on the individual. And
Mhm.
that's really, I think, at the heart of the juxtaposition, is that there is no individual in this.
Mhm.
The individual isn't evil, right? Hubris is problematic. Narcissism is problematic. The individual is not a problem. The individual is a divine creation.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're so full of shit because like these Shambhala seekers, they're not peaceful. Um,
No. And they're
they
not selfless.
no. So in they say in the wake of the ultimate war at the end of time, the king of Shambhala is the absolute monarch of the universe. The prophecy of Shambhala carries the seeds of a worldwide fundamentalist ideology of war. So they're literally gearing up in this life or the next for some kind of cosmic battle where they're going to have their glory as warlords under the Adi Buddha.
Yes. And the Hattie Buddha. Yeah. No, so it's not peaceful, but it's not selfless either. Because when you look at how they treat, like there was actually when the Chinese came in, they were there was a period actually where it was in some ways better for some of the people, but it was actually the aristocracy that fought back because they lost their way of life.
Hmm.
That they were living a life of luxury, and that they realized that if it was going to be taken over, that was all going to be taken from them. So I mean, that's not the voice of that's not the pushback of a selfless someone who is just trying to strive for better karma for their next iteration.
And just think about the layers of deception that these people project, right? With their twilight language and their secret rituals and their secret sacrifices. And what their whole thing is manipulation of love or eros, erotic love, right?
Yeah,
Not philia,
exactly.
the other types of Greek love, but specifically eros, which is the way that we get other people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is and this whole Eros is this is what is it? Eros and Civilizations, Herbert Marcuse. We had Eros and what was Freud's? Eros and Thanos. That was Freud. And then now we have the what does he call it? Eros. It's the cosmoerotic humanism.
Hmm.
It's Mark Gaffney, which is Eros, and he says that Eros is the most divine form of love, and he says that it's not sexual at all, that it's about a radical love affair with the universe. But he's drawing from this is exactly what he's drawing from. That's his training, right? But his training's Kabbalah, but it's very, I mean, I think he's just integrated a lot of Buddhism into it as well. But yeah, he's doing this whole thing with the epic journey to become an erotic mystic. And it sounds very uh, Buddhist tantric. Um, the seven tastes of desire, reclaiming your power, your depth, your ethos, your eros, your radical aliveness for your own sake and for the sake of the whole. Yeah, that's all right there. And this is he's doing this with Aubrey Marcus, who he was the guru to. Mark
Hmm.
Gaffney was the guru to Aubrey Marcus, who was, did that whole viral episode about their radical expanded monogamy, which Gaffney says is the most divine form of monogamy.
Oh yeah. It's like, have you watched that Manosphere documentary yet?
No, I haven't.
Inside the
I,
Manosphere?
I probably need to.
They all talk about having multiple girls, multiple wives that they're not committed to. And
Yeah.
in and it's supposed to be so great. And in one scene, you can just see the realization on this lady's face, like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. Like, I am with this guy. He doesn't care about me at all.
At all.
Yeah. And if I had disappeared from his life, he would just say, oh, that was fun. And so it's really these ideas are being taken, whether or not you know it, from these dark magic. Like the most evil books I own are super expensive, and they're about this stuff manipulating women with eros.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe, yeah, we can, unless there's more you want to cover, but maybe we can just bridge that to some of the parallels that we're seeing today, because I think there's so many.
Yeah,
That-
well, the last section in the Tremonti book in the first part is about this guy named Giordano Bruno, an Italian,
Mhm.
who lived in 1548 to 1600. Now, he actually has a statue in a piazza in Rome that I've been to in Campo di Fiori. And he was like the Italian parallel to this idea of Tantra and erotic love can be
Yeah.
translated into material and spiritual power. So he,
And he was a Hermeticist.
yeah, he was an
Yeah.
ex-Dominican monk, and known as the he's known as a martyr of science because of his universal models,
Mm. S-
solar centric
Oh, yeah, yeah. Right.
models.
The Copernican
Yeah.
model.
But he taught, like you just said, that the entire universe is held together by eros. And
Mm-hmm.
he saw it as a powerful shackle or chain where the lover is chained to the beloved. He said the ability to enchain is also the main characteristic of magic, where the magician binds his victim, which is human or spirit. So you can do this with a succubus or an actual woman. So and bind
Or
them
an
to
AI chatbot, maybe.
the point. Exactly. Bind them to you with love. Okay. And the demon Magnus, he says, cast the erotic net, which we just talked about. Tantra means a fabric or a net or a weave.
Mm-hmm.
Tantra means. He says the real magician is the beloved who exploits the erotic energy of their lover in the accumulation of power. This is literally the red pill dude's ethos.
Really?
Yes, get as many women to love you through any means possible, because he, the magician, is also the soul hunter looking for slaves. So the manipulator must not surrender any tender emotional inclinations. He must only simulate them in order for the deception to succeed. He is only permitted one love, which is narcissism, or in the Greek, philautia. Um, And Bruno mentions the retention of semen also as a powerful instrument of control for the magician. So if you are climaxing with your girl and making babies, you're not going to be a very good erotic manipulator, because you're going to have these tender affections and oxytocin and all of these like real love feelings, not just. So
Right.
you should not be making babies and coming in your girl.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? From Pretty Woman, right? No kissing because it's
Mm.
too intimate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. So
Yeah.
his theory of manipulatability of love, they say, offers psychological insights into why women surrender themselves to yogis.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
love them.
When you love them,
I said, who don't love them.
when you don't love them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they surrender themselves to this guru. You know, you have to put up his picture in your house and you got to give it incense and shit, like, flowers and like draping necklaces on it. And all of this energy is going to the guru, and you are not receiving anything back. It just depletes your entire physiology, basically.
Yeah.
So
And
being like a
emotional.
battery.
Yeah. Yeah. And they say that, right? That they're basically like a battery. The women are batteries to be used, drained,
Exactly.
drained. Yeah, that one meditation where they imagine her like getting old and diseased and becoming a rotting corpse so that they don't have to have any kind of um, allure or
Tender feeling.
sensation.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
love goes back into yourself and up the chain to your guru, and ultimately to some demon god who has like weird squinty eyes. Like you showing that picture of the spirits of the tantra,
Mm-hmm.
the weird eyes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have that picture back, but yeah. Um,
Oh, fun stuff.
so yeah, I don't know if we could name some of I haven't seen the Manosphere, the documentary, but if there are any parallels, because yeah, it seems like that's what they're doing.
There it is. Yeah, there.
This one, yeah. What isn't this the Gobi Desert? Yeah, it's the Gobi Desert where they think that Shambhala is above.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That this the actual place. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was so weird when I was doing the research on the Centennial Conclave. I'm like, wait, they actually think Shambhala is like a real place. It's above the Gobi Desert.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have that graffiti on it. Yeah.
And they will try to manifest it one day and make the entire world Shambhala, so they can all suck out the energy of little girls and do their gross stuff.
Yes. Oh, lovely, lovely. How to visit Shambhala's Mongolia's most sacred spiritual place. Yeah. Yeah, that's Gobi Desert. Hmm. And there's the weird symbol underneath it.
Hmm.
It looks like a nose. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if you want to talk about anything, if there's anything else, or if
Probably
we
not enough.
move on.
We're
Uh,
gonna be back
Tomorrow.
tomorrow, so
So we'll go through, let me look and see if there are any questions. I think we did have some. And so, okay. Are you going to text them to me because I'm visually impaired? So, and there were three
we
super
got
chats.
chat questions. Okay, nice.
Yes, there were three super chats. Okay, now I can't. Yeah, I can't see
There it is.
because I have a text box in the way. Oh, there we go. Yay. Okay. Bridge Tibet to Babylon, please, Jamie. I have ideas, but I would like your input.
Tibet to Babylon. Okay. Um, well, I mean the sacred marriage ritual, so they do call the Kalachakra when you are sucking out the juices and the life force of women and sacrificing them. They do call this the sacred marriage. So the first time we hear about this, hold on, let me get this. Yes. In this book that we just covered, The Babylonians by H.W.F. Saggs. So in the beginnings of history, they would say that kingship was let down from heaven by contact with the goddess Inanna, who, after the flood, would just be a priestess that lived in the ziggurat, right? And they would have this festival, a New Year's festival called the Akitu Festival, where the supposed king would have congress with the priestess named Inanna, and she was supposed to give this divine authority to him, and that was called the sacred marriage. You can look that up. It's called the sacred marriage of Inanna and Dumuzi. So the king would be playing the part of Tammuz or Dumuzi, the fertility god, and the priestess would be playing the part of the goddess Inanna after the flood. Before the flood, it was probably some kind of weird Anunnaki or like a hybrid person. But after the deluge, it was symbolic, and you would have them doing this congress, and at the same time all of the people would also be doing fertility ritual. I guess you can leave that up to your imagination. So it's basically a citywide orgy,
Mm.
to instill legitimacy on this king. So the sacred marriage, they called that the Tantra rituals, the Kalachakra, they call it that. The Rosicrucians, the alchemists of Europe would also refer to this as a sacred marriage. So I don't know if that's a good enough
Uh,
link.
that, that's a lot. Yes.
Is that good? I don't know. Send another super chat if you liked it.
Yes. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Solid sneak. 1x super chat. And that system sounds hedonistic. Yes, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah, hedonism on the path to non-existence. So
Yes. Well, and under the guise of being selfless, like that, they're the ascetic, right? That's
mhm,
their
mhm.
whole exoteric message is they're ascetic. That was the whole story of the the Buddha going up to, right? He starved himself, or I don't know how long it was, and
Yeah,
then yeah,
that's a funny thing you brought up because a lot of people see the happy Chinese fat man and they think that's Buddha, and it's not. That's just the lucky fat man, right? A Buddha
right,
was very skinny because, like you said, he was ascetic. If you see his statue, what you could see his ribs, and he's in
yeah.
the cross-legged pose. That is actually Buddha, because Buddha was not fat. But hedonism, where was I going with that?
The hedonism, and but they're ascetic,
Oh, okay.
and
So yeah, they're gonna say, "Oh, Buddhist monks are celibate," only because they're not discharging their orgasm. Doesn't mean that they're not sticking it in and thinking that they can suck the juice out of her.
right.
That's what they mean by celibate.
Yes. Yeah, lovely. Lovely.
Penny,
Uh, okay. Super chat from Black Hill Gnosis. Thank you. And what do you two think about the Eye of the Sahara, rechat structure of Mauritania, or about the ancient connection of Hawaii and Easter Island?
Uh,
I don't know if I know.
no idea what the Eye of Sahara is.
Yeah, I don't either.
Easter Island's where they have those guys, right, that are sticking out of the, what are they called? Rangoos?
Eye of the
They have those guys sticking out that nobody knows how they got there, and they have a weird language. I'll show you. You'll know exactly what.
Okay. I don't know if they're talking about the Eye of Sahara is NASA?
Easter.
I'm looking it up now. Yeah. NASA, taken by an astronaut on board of the International Space Station. It's the reshot structure.
Oh,
Oh, interesting. It kind of looks exactly like the nose. Yeah, the little spiral.
here's the guys. What he's talking about.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This could be a reference to giants, maybe. Those guys.
Hmm. Yeah, this is the circular. I mean that circular structure, that's the reshot structure, which is what NASA was calling the Eye of Sahara, is what
Hmm.
it looks like on the Gobi Desert with the eyes. The nose looks like that. I don't know.
Good question. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know.
They're killing all the people from NASA. Did you see that? Just to go off on a tangent.
They're
10,
killing all the people.
10 NASA scientists have died mysteriously within like a very
Oh.
short time. So,
Well, I'm sure we won't hear any of the details because we'll never get a straight answer.
no.
Yeah. So, yeah, total tangent. But do you think they went? What was this, Artemis?
Let me pull up the thing
Yeah.
if you want me to play it for you.
Okay. Yeah, it's in West Africa, a geological structure which is said by many to be the remains of Atlantis. Interesting.
Oh, okay, watch this.
Okay.
Lab.
Sorry. I got it.
A ninth scientist with ties to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab has been added to the growing list of researchers across the country who have died under mysterious circumstances
Okay.
or disappeared. Fox News senior national correspondent Kevin Cork has the details. Hey, Kevin.
Afternoon to you, Will. Mike Hicks was a research scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, and apparently he died back in July of 2023 at the age of 59. But the cause of death was never made public, and no record of an autopsy being performed on him has ever been found. Now, on its face, that might not sound like such a big deal, but his is, as you point out, the ninth case of a person with ties to America's space and nuclear secrets who has died or mysteriously vanished in recent years, including retired Air Force General Bill McCaslin, who was reported missing by his wife more than a month ago. He'd been studying unidentified anomalous phenomena and potential non-human intelligence. Now, in common speak, that simply means aliens. And to be sure, the trend of unexplained deaths and disappearances is setting off alarm bells, both among national security experts and among lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
Anyway, that's just the weird news of the day.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting. I have no idea what that's all about, but
But
that's
it's
very
like,
strange.
it reminds me of like those, uh, every so often they'll kill off a bunch of like naturopathic doctors
Yeah.
and just whole groups of people that could actually help humanity, they're just killed.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually illegal in Tennessee to be a naturopathic doctor, to have a
Oh.
naturopathic license. Yeah. I was like really upset about this when I first moved here. And I remember I started like researching. There's only, I think West Virginia is the other state. So they get around it with like I don't know, like there'll be functional medicine or like nutritional holistic. So a lot of people get around it, and there are a lot of practitioners here, but you can't technically have a naturopathic. And I'm assuming it's because Vanderbilt pretty much owns medicine here, but yeah, there's all sorts of weird, like they have weird, I mean, it's where everything is going, but like weird laws with a lot of the, like Vanderbilt won't take, if you don't have insurance, you can't actually pay cash. Like you can't pay out of pocket. You
Mm.
know, they just won't see you.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah. It's, okay. I think I have another one here. Um, oh, thank you from Phantasm 00 $20. Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions? Let's see. I think I saw one other. Uh, from Kelly Silva. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. Super chat. Thank you. This is, do y'all think that they made the avatar people blue because of the Indian Krishna god?
That's pretty plausible.
Yeah, I think that's very plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of, I feel like a lot of references in that movie. Definitely occult references.
Well, yeah, and the fact that the entire thing is like centered on animism and
Mm-hmm.
the worship of nature and nature's
Yeah.
spirits, and the mystical union between you and the planet Gaia,
Gaia. Yes.
which would be Inanna or Kali or one of these dark goddesses.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think so. All right. Well, I think, is that it? I think so. All right. Well,
Oh, look at
thank
that.
you. Yeah, this was fascinating and disturbing, and thank you all for joining us for this wild ride. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.